Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, whatever time of day this video finds you. It's boy Jay here, and today we're going to be talking about how, or the possibility of, Deviants slash Apexes, because they're kind of the same thing, right? Like, we all know that the Apex monsters are basically dying Deviant monsters, but whatever, we're gonna get there. So Deviants slash Apexes, and also risen Elder Dragons, right? And the possibility of them making it to the next game in some way, shape, form, or fashion, right? I'm not saying, you know, drop the Apexes and the Deviants in the new game as they are, right? Because, you know, let's take a look at the Apex monsters specifically. I've already kind of voiced how they were kind of done dirty and they weren't done correctly with having no armor, and then at first being only tied to the Rampage, and we didn't really like the Rampage as a community, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, as a concept, as an idea, right? Take these Deviant monsters we made and then reuse them in a way in a new game and make them make sense, right? So I mean, you know, Diablos, this is basically Bloodbath Diablos in a spiritual successor kind of way, you know what I mean? It's a good idea, right? I mean, and looking at Sunbreak's roster, right, which was probably decided way before you know, like Rise actually came out and all that, you could kind of see that had Rampage as a concept taken off, they probably would have added more Apexes, right? I mean, we got Astalos, Lagambi, both of the Crabs, Nagakuga, Tigrex all have Deviants that could have become Apex monsters to be added in the G rank, or excuse me, Master rank, you know, expansion as more Apexes. But as we know, the concept got scrapped because we didn't gel well with Rampage, and so they just scrapped that part of the story and that part of the game entirely, right? Which is cool, you know, you adapt to the feedback you're given. But like I said, the concept in general, like reusing these Deviant monsters and making them make sense in a future game, is actually not a horrendous idea. It's a pretty good idea. You know, we get you know, variety as far as, yeah, now there's, you know, 2 Diabloses in the game, aside from just Black Diablos, right? Like, we get a Bloodbath type B. Like, it was cool, you know? Now, of course, the problem is they didn't have armor, which is, you know, an essential part of the Monster Hunter experience. But Capcom kind of rectified that situation with the Risen Elder Dragons, which were received much better than the Apexes, right? I mean, I spent a lot of time on Twitter, and I seen the homie Wyverian4G, another Monster Hunter content creator, you know, go show him some love, welcome him back. He's kind of been away from Monster Hunter, but he coming back. He tweeted out this tweet and, you know, kind of asked everybody, like, hey, what are your opinions on the Risen Elders? He's never really talked about it. And, you know, when you scroll through, you're going to see a lot of positivity. A lot of people like the Risen Elders, and, you know, for good reason. Challenging fights make sense for the story of the game at the time. You know, remixing some of the fan favorite Elder Dragons in the series, giving them new forms, and they just have a different feel to, you know, the base Elder Dragon. But the biggest caveat of them all is they all got unique armor sets that are different from the OG Elder Dragon, right? And they all came with unique skills, right? Unique skills that, you know, I'd love to see carried forward in the series. I mean, build up boost, that's hella cool. Powder mantle is nice and fun. Dragon conversion, it was kind of something we already had a little bit when it comes to Iceborne with Alatreon's armor set, but I would argue is a little more interesting to use because it's offensive or defensive depending on which switch scroll you're in, which adds another layer of when you should be using red and when you should be using blue. And yeah, I just think it's interesting, you know, and it really helped boost a lot of the elemental weapons in the game to that top tier status that they're in, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'd love to see these skills, armor sets, and fights move forward into the series. I guess what I'm really trying to say is I want Capcom to attempt the Apex monsters again, right? Because the concept of it, at least, right? Like, bring the Deviants, bring the Risen Elders, right? Maybe call them something else, and, you know, You can bring back the armor sets that came with both of them, right? The Apex came, but they never came with their respective armor sets, which I think is a shame. But they fixed it with the Risen Elders, right? So, you know, you can bring them back or bring back properties of those monsters in some new way. You can call them something else. I don't know. Maybe you can call it something like, I don't know, Pinnacle Kushala, right? Maybe you can take down the special knockdown, or take out the special knockdown that comes from, you know, being risen or whatever, and just have it be like a Bloodbath Diablo situation where once the health gets below a certain threshold, boom, the monster, you know, goes to risen, but it ain't gonna be risen no more. You know what I'm saying? They could call it something else. They could do something else with it. That way we can still enjoy those fights, and then still enjoy, you know, the risen monsters kind of as they are. And we still get to bring those new armor sets and new armor skills that we have grown to love in Sunbreak, along with, you know, you can make this fit the Deviants as well, right? I mean, you can have something like, I don't know, Pinnacle Zenogre, and it glows yellow, just like Thunderlord, just like Apex, right? And bring the armor set with it too, and come up with a new skill that, you know, suits Apex Zenogre or Thunderlord Zenogre, and, you know, retool it to make it fit within the game, to make it make sense with the rest of the armors and skills and mixing and matching and all that, right? And to an extent, I mean, it's a smart thing to do, right? Because the monster already exists, the armor design already exists. Like, yeah, you got to make a new skill, right? And you got to like rebalance the armor set to fit within the game that you're making. But, you know, you don't have to create a monster from scratch. You don't have to create the armor set from scratch as far as design goes, and you still get to appease some of the fans that have been playing your game for a long time, right? For example, you could have Bolt Reaver come back, and, you know, it could be like Pinnacle Astalos, and it looks like Bolt Reaver, and it turns blue, and you know what I'm saying? You know how many people really like Bolt Reaver Astalos? You know what I'm saying? So I think it could be cool to see it kind of come back in a way that makes sense, and I think it would be really exciting for a lot of the fans who have been playing through GU, or who have played Sunbreak, and were like, yo, this is kind of like Risen, blah blah blah, or this is like Deviant, blah blah blah, and it comes back in a way that makes sense with the game. We get new armors, we get new skills, so it's almost like we get nostalgia. It's less work for Capcom. Like, hey, you know, I think everybody wins if Capcom manages to do this right. But that's just what I was thinking about it. You know, I think the Apex monsters in concept, not a bad idea. Reuse and you know, make some of the work you've already done work again for a future title. Sounds great. But you know, I was just thinking about it. Let me know in the comments down below how you guys feel about something like this. Would you want the Apex monsters or the Deviant monsters or the Risen Elder Dragons to make an appearance in a future game in a way that makes sense for the game? I'm not saying copy paste, right? Like, don't just copy paste, right? As much as people love clowning on the Apexes, they're not copy pastes of the Deviants. They do have differences, but you could kind of see how, you know, the Deviants became the Apexes, right? It makes sense. So comment down below what you think about this idea. Have you thought about something like this? Would you rather them just scrap it and just leave the monsters where they're at in their respective games? Let me know in the comment section down below. I plan on replying to each and every comment that hits this video. And as always, people, happy hunting. Peace.